before we talk about the Hausas, maybe I will take a brief history about how Nigeria came into existence. Where how the three major ethnic lords we are not part of the amalgamation, and most of them were not even born before the amalgamation. But outside that, we know that the history has it that the Hausa people are the indigenous people of the north. The Hausa people are the indigenous people of the north. Then Fulani infiltration started from the Borno Empire, from the Borno, axis in those days, and before they gradually begin to spread. And the coming of Usman Dafodio, brought total conquest of the, northern hemisphere on an indigenous to Hausa people. But subsequently, I don't think that religion was actually a major weapon as at that time. But it has become a weapon now that most Hausas now see Islam as their religion, and Fulanis themselves does not see Islam as their own religion in that regard. You look at it very well. I'm just trying to tell you something, But if you look at it, that Fulani is a arm's wing of Islam to champion Islamization. The language of the Fulani is Hausa the language of the Fulani people? That's the question. Is Hausa the language of the Fulani people? Then how come that that the Hausa people now are trying to ignite that the awakening of the consciousness? There's no other person that did it better. There's no other person that reawakened their consciousness apart from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Now they are seeing it that thousands and millions of them are being killed by the same people that they inhabited or cohabited with, under in the name of maybe tolerance or having shared the same ideology or religion. At the end of the day, they turned against them, and on that conquered them, installed their traditional institutions, impose their own ideology on them. But somewhere along the line now, it looks like the Hausa are trying to reawaken what is actually going on. But who did that? They said salvation came to the earth through one man, and sin came to the earth through one man. But it looks like that even though we know that Christianity was not an indigenous religion of the Biafran people, so is Islam not an indigenous religion of the Northerners. But when it came to them, well, religion of peace or whatever you're talking, accepted, it was clearly accepted. But that is where a lot of people are having problems with the role British actually played. Now they have taken over, and there are signs. I can tell you the reason why these people are going after the Hausa communities in the north, predominantly Hausa communities, is that they fear the Hausa revolt. They fear that Hausas are awakening their own consciousness to defend and to understand that these people who are attacking them are not even indigenous people. And they started gaining consciousness as a result of multiple informations being questioned and passed by the IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Today, Islamization agenda has become real. The arms wing of the Islamization agenda is the Fulani militia conquest. We must understand that. And the most Hausa semi-elites are seeing this move as a welcome development, because it is going to champion the ideology of their forefathers, Tafawa Balewa and the rest of them, who believe that the southern part of the country should be their own estate under Islam. And now it is like they are not giving the required attention in that regard. And that is why we are saying now, what do we do? Out of 60 million Hausas, we have less than 15 million Fulanis. How come that this move has actually taken over our territory? There is awakening going on now. And if there is not, care is not taken, the Hausa communities, made up of the entire north, might revolt or begin to question the rationale on how they were able to establish all their emirs in the 19th state of the north. Take over all the local government chairmen are being run by the Fulanis. Local government councillors are Fulanis. All the governors are Fulanis. House of Rep members Fulanis. At the federal level, Fulani people. You can see now that there's some level of resistance. That's why you're saying that no, we are saying no to Buhari's son from contesting either at the federal level or at the national level or at the state level. Let us start from there first. And that's what we're saying. Like Obasanjo said, these people who came from that axis were the people who conspired to champion that agenda that lead to Nigeria-Biafra war. Aside that, there wouldn't have been any ceasefire. I would have known that the result would have come from another angle. So what message is this resistance of the outside people now sending to the global world, sending to Nigerians, sending to the Middle Belters, sending to Southwest, sending to the Biafrans? Is that our eyes are now open. There is reawakening in our consciousness. And kudos to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And that is why I said, salvation came to the earth through one man. Sin also came to the earth through one man. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has opened the eyes of many. And that is why he is in Sokoto prison today. Because the Fulani government that control the action work, they are the ones that are in charge. And they do not want that resistance to continue. You can see a lot of Hausa youth now are beginning to speak up via social media that this is real. We can no longer tolerate it. But now, how would the government, seeing that this reawakening, how would they capitalize on that? At least to stop the unnecessary genocide that is going on in the north by the jihadists. How? You can see what is happening in Mali. You can see the resistance in Burkina Faso. Can Bola be able to damn the consequences and at least allow 5 governors from the northern Hausa communities, Hausa political structure to become governors, at least first time in the history? Take over Kano. Let us see. You can see, it's not funny, but it looks as if the government of the day under Bola has continued to align with the Fulani. He said he's the Buhari, anybody can see. And when his wife went to the Kano was the last territory to be conquered by the Fulani. The last Hausa king was killed in Kano by the Fulani before they were able to install their emir there. But when Tinubu's wife, Remi Tinubu, went to that place, instead of trying to embrace an Hausa child, he embraced a Fulani child. And that is the fear. Can we be able to see a governor that will make it, even if it is a law? But they will not allow it. Because over the years, they have infiltrated the ranks of the Nigerian military. They have infiltrated and taken over the structure of Asurok and government in Nigeria. It will be virtually difficult for them to rise. Unless that the government play a significant role by identifying the Hausa personalities and leaders that have gone to school and empower them to be senators, empower them to be governors, empower them to be members of legislation, chambers, That's the only way. Because if you say you want to engage them in a warfare, then like what we are seeing, it will be very devastating. How can the Hausa people rise? It becomes a question many Nigerians would like to know how they are going to overcome the Fulanis that have virtually taken over the traditional institutions, the political structure, and of course the military for over 60 decades now. How would that happen? With the advancing terrorists and jihadists almost everywhere now, how would that be done? Can Bola Tinubu actually do the needful at this point and look at it on their faces and tell them that I want predominantly Hausa to be governors in 7 states or more in the north? Can that be done? By that reason, you have empowered the Hausas. But leaving the entire north on the hands of the Fulani, who have decided to make Nigeria an indigenous nation for themselves, it becomes a heavy problem and a heavy threat. And that is why the Muslim seekage is always dangerous.